क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा माई यमुना माई की, भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, कलयुग पावन तारण हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Shishi Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna. We welcome you all, Prabhu, once again for the Friday Satsang Karyakram, Chapter 2, Bhagavad Gita discussion going on. We have completed up to text number 61. Yeah. So today, actually 62 and 63 both we have to take, but we will take 62 first and we will take up 63. So we'll start off. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtakim. Krishnaya Vasudevaya. Devaki Nandanaya Cha. Nanda Gopakumaraya. Vindaya Namo Namah. Vindaya Namo Namah. Vindaya Namo Namaha. Chapter 2, Shlok 62. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. Saṅgas teṣūpajāyate. Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ. Kāmāt krodho bhijāyate. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. Saṅgas teṣūpajāyate. Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ. Kāmāt krodho bhijāyate.
dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ.
Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ.
Saṅgastu teṣūpajāyate.
Saṅgasteṣūpajāyate.
Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ.
Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ.
Kāmāt krodho bhijāyate.
Kāmāt krodho bhijāyate. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. Saṅgasteṣūpajāyate. Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ. Kāmāt krodho bhijāyate.
dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ.
Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ.
saṅgas teṣūpajāyate.
Saṅgas teṣūpajāyate.
sañjāyate kāmaḥ.
Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ.
kāmā krodho bhijāyate.
Kāmāt krodho bhijāyate. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. Saṅgas teṣūpajāyate.
sañjāyate kāmāt.
Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmāh.
bhijāyate.
Kāmā krodho bhijāyate. लेते हैं। ध्यायतो चिंतन करते हुए विषयान इंद्रिय विषयों को पुंसः मनुष्य की संघ आसक्ति तेषु उन इंद्रिय विषयों में उपजायते विकसित होती है संगात आसक्ति से संजायते विकसित होती है काम इच्छा कामात काम से क्रोध क्रोध अभिजायते प्रकट होता है। अनुवाद तात्पर्य ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद के द्वारा श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इंद्रिय विषयों का चिंतन करते हुए मनुष्य की उसमें आसक्ति उत्पन्न हो जाती है और ऐसी आसक्ति से काम उत्पन्न होता है और फिर काम से क्रोध प्रकट होता है। तात्पर्य पढ़िए।
तात्पर्य, जो मनुष्य कृष्ण भावना भावित नहीं है उसमें इंद्रिय विषयों के चिंतन से भौतिक इच्छाएं उत्पन्न होती है। इंद्रियों को किसी न किसी कार्यों में लगना रहना चाहिए और यदि वे भगवान के दिव्य प्रेममय भक्ति में नहीं लगी रहेंगी तो वे निश्चय ही भौतिकवाद में लगना चाहेंगी। इस भौतिक जगत में हर एक प्राणी इंद्रिय विषयों के अधीन है, यहाँ तक कि ब्रह्मा तथा शिवजी भी। तो स्वर्ग के अन्य देवी देवता के विषय में क्या कहा जा सकता है? इस संसार के जंजाल से निकलने का एकमात्र उपाय है कृष्ण भावना भावित होना। शिव ध्यान मग्न थे, किंतु जब पार्वती ने विषय भोग के लिए उनको उत्तेजित किया तो वह सहमत हो गए, जिसके फलस्वरूप कार्तिकेय का जन्म हुआ। इसी प्रकार तरुण भगवत भक्त हरिदास ठाकुर को माया देवी के अवतार ने मोहित करने का प्रयास किया, किंतु विशुद्ध कृष्ण भक्ति के कारण वे इस कसौटी में खरे उतरे। जैसा कि यामुनाचार्य के उपयुक्त श्लोक में बताया जा चुका है, भगवान का एकनिष्ठ भक्त भगवान की संगति के आध्यात्मिक सुख का आस्वादन करने के कारण समस्त भौतिक इंद्रियों को त्याग देता है। अतः जो कृष्ण भावना भावित नहीं है वह कृत्रिम दमन के द्वारा अपनी इंद्रियों को वश में करने में कितना ही शक्तिशाली क्यों न हो, अंत में अवश्य असफल होगा, क्योंकि विषय सुख का रंच मात्र विचार भी उसे इंद्रिय तृप्ति के लिए उत्तेजित कर देगा।
हरिओम तत्सत। 64 भी साथ में ले ले। 63 वही, बिकॉज वो कंटिन्यूएशन है तो एक एक कोई पढ़ लेंगे, तो बहुत लंबा नहीं तो हो जाएगा। तो 63 ओके। क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोह सम्मोहात् स्मृति-विभ्रम स्मृति-भ्रांशात् बुद्धि-नाशो बुद्धि-नाशात् प्रणश्यति। कोई मत। क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोह सम्मोहात् स्मृति-विभ्रम स्मृति-भ्रांशात् बुद्धि-नाशो बुद्धि-नाशात् प्रणश्यति। यस, कोई और कोई रह गए थे उसमें? इसका रह गया था? हो गया तो अरे बोल। और कोई लेना चाहेगा? एक ले लो।
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोह
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोह
स्मृति-विभ्रमः
सम्मोहात् स्मृति-विभ्रमः
स्मृति-भ्रांशात् बुद्धि-नाशो
स्मृति-भ्रांशात् बुद्धि-नाशो
बुद्धि-नाशात् प्रणश्यति
बुद्धि-नाशात् प्रणश्यति। क्रोधात् फ्रॉम एंगर। इसमें मेरे पास हिंदी का उसमें ऑनलाइन में नहीं है। क्रोधात् क्रोध से भवति होता है सम्मोह पूर्ण मोह सम्मोहात् मोह से स्मृति स्मरण शक्ति का विभ्रम मोह
वह
स्मृति-भ्रंशात्
बुद्धि-भ्रंशात्
स्मृति के मोह से,
बुद्धि के मोह से,
बुद्धि-नाश
बुद्धि-नाश
बुद्धि का विनाश,
बुद्धि का विनाश,
बुद्धि-नाशात्
बुद्धि-नाशात्
तथा बुद्धि-नाश से
तथा बुद्धि-नाश से
प्रणश्यति
प्रणश्यति
अथ पतन होता है।
पतन होता है।
अनुवाद तात्पर्य ऐसे भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय।
क्रोध से पूर्ण
क्रोध से पूर्ण
मोह उत्पन्न होता है
मोह उत्पन्न होता है
और मोह से स्मरण शक्ति का
शक्ति का
विभ्रम हो जाता है।
विभ्रम हो जाता है।
जब स्मरण शक्ति भ्रमित हो जाती है तो बुद्धि नष्ट हो जाती है
तो बुद्धि नष्ट हो जाती है
और बुद्धि नष्ट होने पर मनुष्य भवकूप में पुनः गिर जाता है। तात्पर्य पढ़िए।
तात्पर्य कृष्ण भावनामृत के विकास से मनुष्य
स्वामी ने हमें आदेश दिया है।
श्री रूप गोस्वामी ने हमें यह आदेश दिया है। कृष्ण भावनामृत के विकास से मनुष्य जान सकता है कि प्रत्येक वस्तु का उपयोग भगवान की सेवा के लिए किया जा सकता है। जो कृष्ण भावनामृत के ज्ञान से रहित है वे कृत्रिम ढंग से भौतिक विषयों से बचने का प्रयास करते हैं। फलतः वे भव बंधन से मोक्ष की कामना करते हुए भी वैराग्य की चरम अवस्था को प्राप्त नहीं कर सकते। उनका तथा कथित वैराग्य फाल्गुन अर्थात गौड़ कहलाता है। इसके विपरीत कृष्ण भावना व्यक्ति जानता है कि प्रत्येक वस्तु का उपयोग भगवान की सेवा में किस प्रकार किया जाए। फलतः वह भौतिक चेतना का शिकार नहीं होता। उदाहरणार्थ निर्विशेषवादी के अनुसार भगवान निराकार होने के कारण भोजन नहीं कर सकते, अतः वह अच्छे खाद्यों से बचता रहता है। किंतु भक्त जानता है कि कृष्ण परम भोक्ता हैं और भक्ति पूर्वक उन पर जो भी भेंट चढ़ाई जाती है उसे वे खाते हैं। अतः भगवान को अच्छा भोजन चढ़ाने के बाद भक्त प्रसाद ग्रहण करता है। इस प्रकार हर वस्तु प्राणवान हो जाती है और अंधपतन का कोई संकट नहीं रहता। भक्त कृष्ण भावनामृत में रहकर प्रसाद ग्रहण करता है, जबकि अभक्त इसे पदार्थ के रूप में तिरस्कार कर देता है। अतः निर्विशेषवादी अपने कृत्रिम त्याग के कारण जीवन को भोग नहीं पाता और यही कारण है कि मन में थोड़े से विचलन से वह भवकूप में पुनः आ गिरता है। कहा जाता है कि मुक्ति के स्तर तक पहुंच जाने पर भी ऐसा जीव नीचे गिर सकता है क्योंकि उसे भक्ति का कोई आश्रय नहीं मिलता।
हरि ओम तत्सत्। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णप्रादान् सगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, chapter 2. Last time we took 2.60. Just we'll have a quick recap. 6.1. We had a 6.1, so we'll just have a quick recap. Very quick. What was the gist of 6.1?
The answer to the question, Kim Asita.
Yes.
Answer given by Krishna is Asita
Matpara. Yes. Categorically, yes.
Fix the consciousness upon me by controlling the senses.
Yes.
It can be achieved by the devotional, engaging the senses in devotional service to Krishna.
Yes, perfect. Perfect. Yes. Anything else? You remember? Huh? Kameez yaad hai. Example kameez, yes. Shirt. He took the example of the mendicant who was very happy. So how can we happy? So that's what.
मत तक परंपरा के बारे में भी बात हुआ है।
मत परा, हाँ।
कि भगवान कृष्ण में जब तक अपनी इंद्रियां नहीं लगाएंगे तो उनको आर्टिफिशियल तरीके से बस में नहीं किया जा सकता।
बस में नहीं, किसी भी रूप में बस में नहीं किया जा सकता। यस।
The Ambarish Maharaj.
He was the person who had controlled all his senses and he applied all those senses in the service of the Lord. Yeah. So there are three aspects. You have to control your senses by whatever means, as Prabhu was saying, right? For even a horse, we put some kind of, this thing. We try to control. So that is whatever method you have, with that you have to try to control. And just controlling will not be enough. You will have to dovetail it to Krishna. That is where you have to yukta asita matpara. You have to dovetail it to Krishna or engage with Krishna or connect with Krishna. Then only it will be possible that all your indriyas will become in your vasya. We also understood the difference between what is control and what is vasya, right? There were two, sanyamya and vasya. Though words used हुए थे. So what is sanyam? Sanyam is just control. Like everybody wants to control. I am getting my anger, I am trying to control. Okay, whatever. So sanyam, that is, restrain. But when it is vash, that is control, means, it is full control. Subjudication, that's what it was written. Vashikaran, when we call, right? That we make the other persons under control us. So, conquer. When a king conquers the praja of the different king, then he will make everybody subordinate to him. So that is where conquer. So conquest comes only when you try to restrain, and then when you dovetail, then only that conquest will come. Otherwise, that conquest may not come. So that difference we understood. Apart from that, example of Baladev Vidyabhushan, that shloka which was given, that it is not at all possible to control the senses if we have not engaged in Krishna consciousness. Yes. We also took the man mana bhav mat bhakto. How do we do? So we took the explanation of man mana bhav mat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru. So that's where Krishna explains, that, you become my devotee, engage always, everything in me, you offer obeisances to me, and in this way you will become fully absorbed in me. And then also we took one of the Bhagavatam shloka and understood that. And otherwise, if we try to control it, would be just phantasmurgia. That's what Prabhupada wrote in the purport, right? Phantasmurgia. So it's like phantom comics. Something weird. Phantasmurgia. In the previous, वो हिंदी में कुछ और वर्ड यूज हुआ है, इंग्लिश में phantasmurgia यूज हुआ है. In the purport last 2-3 lines you'll find that. Mrig marriage ki khoj, yeah, something that is, the one which is within itself, but you are still finding it outside. It's in that way. Phantasmurgia. It's like. So coming to today's shloka, dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. So today's shloka is very, very important. Where there is, like Krishna is of course talking about on kim asita, how to means, how a person sits. That is, how does he restrain his senses. So these are the two shlokas which will complete that answer. And from next, that is 64 onwards, we will have Vrajetakim, on Vrajetakim till the end of the chapter 72. All the shlokas will be on Vrajetakim. So these two shlokas are last for that particular thing. So what is the translation in English? While contemplating the objects of senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. So Krishna in his previous shloka has said that, he's given an answer that, you have to restrain your senses and dovetail unto him. Then by whatever methods and means you have, or best yoga karmasu kaushalam, that is what was described as matpara. So if you do that, then you will be able to conquer your senses. And today, exactly these two shlokas, he says, if you do not do that, if you do not do matpara, and you try to do it by any artificial means, what will happen? So the consequences of not doing, he is speaking today. One falls down, So falls down in the sense we're saying, not from the first floor, second floor, falls down from the position where he is. That is what it is. From like we are talking about a person who wants to restrain his senses. And fall down means again he end up in sense engagement, sense gratification. Again he starts sense gratification. So, after listening everything or after restraining also, just because some episodes have happened, he again goes back to his normal sense gratification thing. So fall down, how fall down happens. So 8 stages of fall down has been described in these 2 shlokas, 4 in the first shloka and 4 in the second shloka. So it's certainly like, when say, always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So, exactly, if you don't remember Krishna, then certainly you will remember Maya, or, you will remember the Indriya Trupti. So if you are not engaging your senses in Krishna, then you will engage in your own Indriya Trupti. So that is where this shloka comes in. Dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. Dhyāyato is contemplation. Contemplation है चिंतन करना. In Hindi we say चिंतन करना, चिंतन चिंता करना, चिंतन करना. So ध्यायतो, जब आप चिंतन करते हो, when you contemplate on what? Sense objects. ध्यायतो विषयान. Viṣayān are sense objects. Puṁsaḥ is the person who is contemplating. To control means like, control. And then, when he is contemplating about the sense object, he has seen something, he is contemplating on that, then what happens? Saṅgās. He gets attachment to that. He gets attached to that, what he was contemplating, or in his mind or physically or whatever. So attraction develops. Teṣū, on those sense objects. Attachment develops on those sense objects. Upajāyate, develops. Upajāyate is develops. Saṅgāt, saṅgas teṣūpajāyate. He develops attachment on those sense objects. Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ. So next line. Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ. When means like from that attachment, saṅgāt is from that attachment, sañjāyate again develops. So first it was used upajāyate, now he is using sañjāyate. So both means the same here. This is Sanskrit poetical language, where you can exactly correlate the words and you can make the same meaning. So upajāyate, sañjāyate means same. That is, develops. From saṅgāt, kāmaḥ develops. When you have attachment, when you have that attachment and when you keep continuing contemplating on that, you develop lust. Kāmaḥ is lust. Obsession, we call it as. So first is contemplation, second is attraction, and third is obsession, that is lust develops. And kāmaḥ krodho bhijāyate. And from that, out of that kāmaḥ, manifest is the krodh. Krodh aata hai. When we do not fulfill those sense objects which we have seen we do not enjoy, then we get anger, and that is what irritation we call it as, infuriation. So the sequence, and from in this sequence till the 8th verse, we will almost fall in the hook. So this 4 stages which we'll understand, then we'll go to the other 4 stages. Okay. So the underlying principle of these 2 shlokas is that whatever catches our attention actually catches us. Whatever catches our attention, whatever is drawing our attention, it actually catches us. So you remember, like, lobopahata cetasa. We had discussed, right? From the initial classes, new people will not know. Lobopahata cetasa had come in the first chapter, where we discussed, like, how a person is given attraction. By what? Advertisements, right? Why do you see advertisements? What do advertisements do? Advertisements present you certain images, certain sound effects, or certain sensory stimuli, which actually is arranged in such a way that automatically grabs your attention. Right? That is what advertisement does. So once that attention is grabbed, we get caught into that process. So dhyāyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. So viṣaya, as I said, is the sense objects. Senses see the sense objects. Naturally, eye will see something very beautiful. Nose will smell something very good, So the tongue would like to taste something today. How was the tea or coffee today? So, maybe last time it was Vikrut Roop of it. So that is ISKCON tea or coffee. So if anyone wants to leave that tea or coffee attachment, they can do this, and I can explain you how it has to be done. So you will get the same sense satisfaction which you get by a normal tea. Tea or coffee, whatever. So when you, so senses see those sense objects. For example, in movies, or serials, we sometimes, see very brutal violence. very brutal violence, or sometimes we see very, obscenity depicted in some kind of, scenery. So, when we say, why this was supposed to be presented in this way, then the rationalization they give is, this is just a fictional story. It has nothing to do with anybody's life or anything. Sometimes too much violence and everything is depicted, and sometimes it has nothing to do with anybody's life and all those. It is just fiction. Fiction means it's just for entertainment. If that's just only for entertainment, then when people are watching, why does that half an hour serial have 3 breaks? Why does that movie also have breaks? And when there is that breaks is full of advertisements. Why does it have? When it is just, okay, if it is just for the case of entertainment, then this advertisement which is being shown is certainly not for entertaining people, right? It is just not for something for entertainment, right? Advertisements, you all know, is something to put on impressions in your mind so that you get attracted. It is certainly nothing, because when they charge hefty amount of money even for a few seconds, advertising industry people are here, they will be able to tell how much they charge per second, right? So it is hardly 10 second, 20 second, 1 minute maximum, it grows into crores and crores of rupees. So when they charge this advertisement, that itself means these are made to extract money or make a killing money out of it. Because when mass people are being shown some kind of thing, automatically how it forms impressions. So, it's like in some advertisement, there's some VIP star or some, some good look star, which you all follow sometimes, may say, I use this, I drive this car, this is my, ye dil mange more, and so many things, I don't remember today's advertisement. So during my times, I can tell. So when this is there, what happens? Eventually, what they are meaning to say, okay, I have enjoyed it, you also enjoy. Whether they enjoy it or not, that's a different issue. But they are asking us to enjoy. So whatever, and eventually we end up enjoying that, Okay, may not be what has been depicted, we may end up buying. But whatever fits within our observation zone and whatever is depicted very attractive and fit in our, spendable zone, we try to end up doing that, right? We try to end up doing that. Okay, they may show some kind of, some good luxury vehicle that may be beyond our reach. Okay, that may not fit into our reason, but whatever which is fitting in our this thing, we try to go for it. Hence, the principle here to be understood is that, if we go beyond, means like how to go beyond such entrapments. So that is the principle we have to understand while understanding this shlokas. So such advertisements are actually a setup to trap us, and if we do not want to get trapped by them, we have to be aware of the mechanism by which these things happen. We should be aware of the mechanism, how these things propel us to or compel us to indulge in those objects. It can be anything. I'm taking a common thing, because advertisements are for everything. Okay. So that mechanism here is to understand that whatever we are observing starts creating subconscious impressions within us. Whatever we observe starts kind of subconscious impressions within our mind. That is what. So brain, you say, brain is the gross part of the body. The last time Prabhu was asking brain, and I said we'll come on that also, don't worry. So actually, brain is the gross part of the body, it is made up of tissues, which is, like part of this body. It's the entire body is, okay. And mind, intelligence, false ego are the subtle part of this body. Those are the gross part of the body. Brain is the gross part of the body, and this mind, intelligence, and false ego. So mind we'll talk about is the subtle part of the body. So this 8 tattvon se milke jo hamari body banti hai. So mind and brain. So so brain is like a hardware, and mind is like a software which helps to function, which helps in functioning, in discharging duties and all those. So senses carry a message to the brain in bits and pieces, and the mind correlates from its database, assimilates and sends the solution to the soul that, whatever you have seen. For example, if we are seeing a green bird, I think so we took this example before also, when we see a green bird flying. So what is that bird, if you have to understand, the eye sees. So certain parts of the eye send signal to the brain that, I've seen some object flying, and, different cells from the eye would send a different part of the brain that, that flying color is green, and, and that movement is captured by different part of the, of the brain. And it says at this moment, it says, it's like a parrot because it's flaming for some time, and then it is closing. Then, some kind of, you'll have different movements of different words. So different informations are captured by different aspects of the senses. Okay, that's only for seeing, but I can say for nose and everything. So that correlates and goes to the brain, and in brain, the mind immediately acts like, and start correlating and sends signal, and then it identifies, oh, this green color, this flying, this methodology, or this is the bird from the previous recap. It just, or for the first time, then he will inquire what is this bird, and then, oh, it's a parrot flying, and then it will assimilate and it will tell to the owner of this body, soul, and then the soul, okay, oh, fine, this is the bird. So now, in this way, different cells are active. Means, it's not one cell. So different cells in the brain, we'll come to that also. So the brain science, we call it as what? Neurological sciences, right? The neurological sciences have substantially developed today, but still there is something which is incomplete. Okay, they are substantially developed in today's world. Brain therapy means like, brain surgeries and all those, it's substantially developed. But still the research is going on, because what they say is, we have not entrapped the full part of the brain at all. Though we have done substantial findings, but still we have not understood the brain completely at all. So to a larger extent, more or less it is settled, but what this research says, the research says, the repeated indulgence of a particular activity, repeated indulgence means when you contemplate, you are repeatedly thinking about one activity. So repeated indulgence in a particular activity helps, leads to reconnections of neurons in the brain. So helps in neurons. So I thought I'll just take, because I didn't have system, so I did not take printout. So this is a picture of a neuron. Okay, so what is it? I'll tell you also again. So this is what neurological sciences says, like when you do, some particular neurons get active. So according to the behavior, a pattern is formed. So, there are different patterns which, if you Google it also, the neurons pattern, they'll be, like if you see MRI scan, you'll see one light here, one light here, one light here, and all those. So this is what I thought I'll just put you. So the diagram. So there's a pattern which is developed, and that, like, and then, like, when you start, so as I said, it's a program, right? Mind is a program and brain is a hardware. Like a computer, when you start the computer, what happens? Some default programs automatically start, right? When you, even in DOS-based systems also, there was one default program through which we used to enter. How many of you know about it? I don't know, but those, we, like when we started off with those MS Word and Lotus 1, 2, 3 and all those. So we can tell you. So there is some expressions which, a pattern which is getting created. Hare Krishna. So welcome Prabhuji and Mataji after initiation. So Suravandya, Srinivas Prabhu and Nag Najiti Sri Lakshmi Mataji. Hari bol, Hari bol. So what happens, when you see a particular object, what happens? It sends, like as I said, you seeing that bird, the eye sends one object to one of the brain cell, one of the neuron. Neuron is the central part, the middle cell, the neuron. It sends an object, oh, this is that neuron, so that activates. So, there's a spark kind of thing, that immediately that, activates. And then there is a, the neuron is surrounded with synapse. Synapse is a material, some kind of liquid flow within that neuron outside, within that, which forms a medium, and this is a dendrite. That is axon. This is axon. Okay, and from axon ends up in dendrites. small branches. So those small branches are connected to the other neuron, other dendrites of the other neuron. So each neuron is placed within the brain side by side, side by side. Now one cell object has raised and taken information to the brain, some other thing about color, some other thing about color. So when all the information is assimilated, this hardwiring, as I said, like in computer also there's hardwiring. So this hardwiring flashes in that particular points, and that is reflected as impressions in the brains. That is what the scientific study says, impressions in the brain. So those and those starts illuminating. So what happens, and those illuminations forms a pattern that, this particular person is thinking in this pattern. When you do this neurological study, that's very common. So that pattern is now defaulted because from your past impressions, those patterns are picked up. And this is about seeing. Now imagine sensual attractions also. Okay. So this past impressions are digging up that, and your brain is automatically flashing in all those places. So of course, this wiring is hardwire. I said, like, in computer, there are hardwire. So, don't think that, this hardwiring of the neuron cannot be changed. It can be changed also. But more or less, the thought process remains the same. That is how this impression follows. For example, a person has a hatred towards some other person. Some person is having hatred towards some political big figure. Now, the moment somebody takes his name, the moment somebody says something about him, the brain cells automatically collect that, and you automatically react to it accordingly. किसी के बारे में आपको किसी caste, for example, or किसी के person wise, if you are having a hatred from the beginning, maybe because of some past impressions or something. So by default, the moment that particular name arises or the vision arises, these brains will act, and those neurons will form that pattern, and you will act accordingly. You will act in that particular way. So, but one should remember, as I said, that this particular thing is not permanent. This can be changed. That is how this neurological sciences, you have this rehab programs and various programs which have been designed. We say that through Kirtan Mantra, everything can be solved. Okay. So even if you go scientifically, there are some rehab programs. Otherwise, all these things means brain therapies and all those would not have worked. So those things can be reprogrammed. That is what we have to understand. Don't think that, ye to hota hi hai. Those things can be reprogrammed, and that is where that Prabhu said, we have to make efforts. That has to be trained. So Matpara is the training only. So now just what physically correlate what Krishna is saying, I just give an example. How does, these impressions form? So what Krishna is trying to talk over in these two shlokas. Okay. So when we contemplate, certain pattern occurs, and the way we mentally respond. For example, we'll take an example of an alcoholic person. Alcoholic person sees a bottle of alcohol. Dhyāyato viṣayā. Viṣaya is the alcohol bottle. Dhyāyato, he starts he looks at that first. Okay. Maybe some advertisement, hoarding, this, that, anything. Okay. Or physical bottle in front of him, anything. Dhyāyato viṣaya. He's seen that, and then he started contemplating. Immediately, he starts contemplating. Then after contemplating, immediately there is attachment. Saṅgas teṣūpajāyate. There is an attachment. Oh, that's nice. I have never tasted. Oh, I tasted this when long back. Oh, when I was in college. Oh, when I was in Germany, or anything. Like anything. So immediately saṅgas teṣūpajāyate. I had this during that time. Saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ. The next line comes, saṅgāt sañjāyate kāmaḥ. So repeatedly contemplation then develops deep attachment, obsession. Oh, I should have that. How? Like, once was attachment, but then, when you continuously think, you have an obsession. No, I have to have that. And whether, that is what we call it as infatuation, infatuation or, obsession that develops. And that may not be affordable to him. It's too costly. That may not be affordable to him. He has money, and and probably with that money he has to take his bread today at home. You'll see these kinds of things back home, right? But the infatuation has developed, and he wants it. who's going to say me anything? I will just have. So, first, kāmaḥ, I will have it. And then, who's going to stop me? My family is going to stop me. I am going to beat them. I am going to kill them. Kāmaḥ, krodho, bhijāyate. So, just by looking at the bottle of the alcohol, how the repeated impressions brings anger to him also. First, kāmaḥ, the krodha. So this way we become, and then that krodha comes, we become entangled. So it begins with contemplation and ends with irritation or infuriation. And krodha. The fury, we have to understand, is a great cause of misery. Anger आना बहुत बड़ा मिsery का काम है. So that's why we say, like anger को control करना है क्या Western मैं अभी आता हूँ उसके ऊपर भी आता. So contemplation leads to attachment. So you have to understand very important thing here when you see these 4 lines. So when you understand contemplation is very important. Do animals contemplate on anything which they come across? Or apart from their subject? Whatever, eating, mating, sleeping, defending के अलावा they do anything? Nothing. Even if you give a bottle of alcohol to them, will they try to drink it? The horse will only want to have a grass. Will it see the bottle and get attracted? No. Why? Because they are in bit tamoguna. हाँ ठीक है. मीन्स लाइक हर एक का इट्स ओके. मीन्स लाइक नहीं हर एक का नहीं. मंकी भी वही चीज खाएगा जो उसको खाना नहीं तो फेंक देगा टेस्ट करके. मंकी का तो इसलिए चंचल है ना दिमाग थोड़ा. नहीं थोड़ा समझ आती है दूसरी तरफ. नहीं कभी कभी तो सुन के छोड़ देते प्रभु. हाँ तो ठीक है, इट्स ओके. तो जब तक उनको समझ में नहीं आता मेरे आइटम चीज का नहीं है वो छोड़ देते. दे डोंट कॉन्टेम्पलेट. दैट इज व्हाट आई एम टेलिंग. कॉन्टेम्पलेशन बार बार नहीं सोचती बार बार मुझे जाके टेस्ट करके खाना है, मुझे बार बार जाके टेस्ट करके खाना है, ऐसे नहीं करती है. एक बार सूंघ ली छोड़ दी, फिर वो बाद में ऐसा नहीं, फिर बाद में भी अगर भूल के जाएगी वापस सूंघ के छोड़ देगी. बट इट विल नॉट रीथिंक अबाउट इट. मैं एक बार टेस्ट करके देखती हूँ. थोड़ा विकसित माइंड होते रहता है. बिकॉज वो देखो तमोगुण कहने का मतलब है कि दे आर इन प्रोमिनेंट इन तमोगुण. एज एंड व्हेन दिस गुण इंक्रीजेस द स्लोली द माइंड एस्पेक्ट ऑल्सो कम्स इन कि मुझे कैसा भी टेस्ट करके देखना है. So that thing comes out. That comes out of passion. Like you develop a passion towards it. And so you can open 14.7. That will say rajo ragatmika vidhi due to passion. In 14.7 it is said. You can read the translation if anyone has open.
The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti. Because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruit of actions.
So, so this is the reason why in that purport also Prabhupada had written that, simple, a man is attracted to a woman or woman is attracted to a man or to his children. So, the status. So, it is all in the mode of passion. Because of the mode of passion, one starts attracted. So, but Krishna here, he said, what did he say that? First he said, Krishna said, attachment comes from passion. तो बोला नहीं. Krishna ने क्या बोला क्या है? Contemplation. dhyāyato से बोला ना. So, contemplation. And in 14.7 going ahead, Krishna is saying, due to passion. Like same thing, due to passion. So, how do you reconcile this? How do you reconcile this?
इस चीज का पैशन होगा बंदा वही सोचेगा.
तो वो पैशन. हाँ तो क्या होता है पैशन से? अभी ब्रेन का एग्जांपल इसलिए दिया था मैं. कॉन्टेम्पलेट ज्यादा करेगा तो उसका वो इंप्रेशंस उसी प्रकार से डेवलप होंगे ना. सो वो इंप्रेशंस इसी हिसाब से डेवलप होंगे. सो अब उसी को मैं एक सिंपल एग्जांपल लेके समझाता हूँ. लाइक हम सभी जानते हैं कि अग्नि किससे आती है? हाउ डू यू गेट फायर? फ्रॉम वुड, राइट? ओके, अभी ये छोड़ो गैस वगैरह. विल गो टू वैदिक सभ्यता. Okay, here also, there also gas beam. So you get fire from the wood. And how do you, okay, that wood will catch fire. How does it catch fire? Automatically or through a source? Coming in contact with the source. Coming in contact with the source. Either even the two woods rubbing across each other is also a source to get out a spark. And that spark creates the fire. Okay. And that fire, if it is okay, for example, a piece of wood, okay, that will get burned, it will come to ashes and it will get extinguished. But to continue that fire, what happens? What do you have to do? You have to keep on pouring fuel, something, petrol dalo, ya phir kapoor dalo, ya kuch, because when we do yagya, we know, to keep continuing the fire, what we do all Agni Tattvas item, we keep on putting into the fire, like we put petrol or kapoor or everything into the fire. So as a result, what happens? That thing keeps continuously burning, right? So unless you give fuel to that fire, it will extinguish and it will otherwise keep continuously burning. So more and more contemplation adds fuel to the fire. That is what I wanted to explain. More and more contemplation adds fuel to the fire, and that is where the attachment comes in. And attachment develops into lust. I want it. So if you do not give a head out that initial contemplation, like Billy example hum le rahe the, that means not putting petrol to the fire, then that fire may extinguish automatically there itself only. But when you contemplate, this we have taken that example, na, apne Aja Milka and all those. He was contemplating, and that is what he ended up marrying that a prostitute, right? The Aja Milka. So attachment leads to kama, lust. So attachment has developed. That attachment is now leading to kama. So kama and lust is like what? Lust is like a mirage in the desert. You want to, it's like in a mirage in the desert. You try to reach that, thinking that there is a water. But it is just a sunshine. It's a illusion which is created in the desert. And you try to reach and then you find nothing over there. So similarly, similarly with our senses also it happens mostly. The senses, mind and intelligence are actually the sitting places of the lust. काम कहाँ निवास करता है? Mind, इंद्रियों में, मन में और क्या बोलते हैं बुद्धि में, हाँ है ना. 3.40 is the reference shloka. There it says clearly. 3.40 says that these are the three places of sitting of lust, and through them the lust. So what happens? Through these mind, intelligence, and senses, when the lust develops, that covers the real knowledge of the person or the living entity, and he gets bewildered. Because the real knowledge is lost. These three covers the real knowledge. And we get bewildered. And that is where kama leads to krodha. From the kama leads to krodha. A person, for example, dependent on tobacco, like usko cigarette पीने की लत लगी हुई है, उसको तुम cigarette नहीं दो, कैसा थोड़ी देर बाद में he will get angry. Where is my packet of cigarette which is placed? Cereals. I don't say 1 or 2 wale, but then 1 or 2 will lead to 10 also. So he'll get he'll become very restless. Okay, take in case of sensual things. Now there was one a person, Osho, right?
Osho.
Yeah, Osho. So Osho was a person where, he said, whatever you have desires in your mind, because sensual desires, when I'm talking about whatever desires are there, you just fulfill them. Don't just curtail those desires. That's what they say. Persons propitiating those kind of theories, they say कि आपको रोकना नहीं चाहिए. अगर आपके desire आए तो आपने कर लेना चाहिए. But remember how dangerous it could be, because the stages of fall down, when we are discussing how it leads to krodha and then ultimately fall down. So how dangerous that could be. At the attachment level only the mind is involved, but when it gets to the kama level, all this mind, intelligence and all senses get dragged into it. The senses drag all the mind, intelligence, everything when it comes to that level. We have already discussed this, mind getting dragged and all those. So it's the same 3.40 shloka only that discusses all this thing. Your urge to satisfy sensual pleasure increases more and more. And if you start once, so that is where exactly, if you start once, then your ये दिल मांगे मोर जो advertisements आते हैं, तो उसी में आपका फिर लगा रहता है. फिर एक से मेरा क्या होगा, 10 ग्लास भी चला लो तो फिर कुछ नहीं होगा, है ना. तो ऐसा टाइप वाला. So that's the reason today you see many of the youngsters, when they go to college, when they are given to that kind of environment, repeated impressions getting created by such kind of instillating, images or, all those things, they get addicted. Somebody gets addicted to, drugs, or somebody to, drinking, or somebody to smoking, or to somebody to pornography, whatnot and whatnot. Right? There's never end to the lower default programs. So this way, so that, so all this gets developed. And if this is not fulfilled, then anger comes. That's what. So if they don't find the solution to that, and that is where the anger comes. So 18.38 also discusses about one scenario, like, what happens in such and such cases. Like an happiness which is derived from the contact of senses, with their objects, and which appears like nectar in the first, but poison at the end. It's said to be born out of passion. है ना? The passion के वजह से हमको शुरू में कुछ enjoyment nectar की तरह लगता है. But in the end, it is turning to be poison. So the anger is also a kind of poison within your body, which gets created. विष है ना, क्यों जहर उगल रहे हो? गुस्सा जब कोई उगलता है तो हम वही बोलते हैं ना, क्यों जहर उगल रहे हो? So it's like, okay, that is in passion, what all things can happen. So I'm just correlating all those things and trying to explain you. Okay. So now when you go back to your neurological science example, your hardwiring science, if a person has never drunk an alcohol, when he sees the bottle, what happens? For example, the advertisement, okay? He sees an advertisement of alcohol, what happens? Nothing happens to him. There is no reaction at all, right? Why? The brain circuitry is not wired accordingly. So the brain neurons doesn't even give a flee to it, and they don't even activate. आपको बता दूं, उसके ऊपर भी आता हूं. I was like a person who is not drinking, okay? He will also start drinking. That I'll come to know that also. Okay? So, no. जिसका पक्का इरादा होता है वो जो नहीं पीने वाला नहीं पीता है, तो फिर क्या है, उसका ब्रेन सर्किटरी उसकी अकॉर्डिंग से मैप्ड है ना, उसका अकॉर्डिंगली मैप्ड है. सो फॉर हिम he has no craving for that. The craving doesn't come in. The lust develops. How? Why? Because we have craving. मुझे बार-बार वो चाहिए. So the craving doesn't come for him. Or where somebody who has indulged in once or twice before, maybe years before, okay, what happens? Then that brain prompts him with options. The brain prompts him with option, either to choose this or to choose lemonade if he wants to sit with somebody and enjoy. Right? Up to him. Okay. It gives an option to him. You choose this or that. Okay. And okay, and if he had taken it before, so he sometimes get tempted to take this lower side one. And that is how he becomes a drunkard, slowly. And how, that's not. So once or twice also you have tasted, the impression will remain. We have to go back 2-3 shlokas before, the taste, what we had done, that remains in our mind. That will never go off. And that will come up from time to time. हाँ.
तो बहुत सारी ऑप्शन थी.
हाँ.
सबसे पुराना था
खाने का. तो मैंने शेफ से बात किया, मैनेजर से बात किया, उन्होंने बिना लहसुन प्याज का मुझे दाल सब्जी
ये बना देते हैं.
सातों दिन वही खाया.
होता है. And for a habitual drunkard, what will happen? The default option automatically make him to go forward, take the glass and drink.
घर में बनाना चालू कर.
Forceful thrust, जो बोलते हैं ना, forceful thrust. So unless one, or sometimes, unless somebody forcefully, consciously rejects it, the person just acts, because he is a habitual drunkard. So he just extends his hand and just enjoys it. The speed at which one moves from dhyāyato to this kāmaḥ and praṇaśyati, even in the next shloka, is all what happens, would vary on the type of taste which you have developed. And now, non-drinker. If he is looking at the alcohol, he is sitting in the sangat of the person who is drinking alcohol, drinking lemonade, अरे भाई एक दिन पी लो क्या होता है, then he will also start one day drinking. इसीलिए संग का असर बहुत जरूरी होता है. Within that also, like स्थित प्रज्ञ होना, Srila Prabhupada had gone. मैंने कई बार एग्जांपल लिया था. He had gone to the night club also, nude clubs जहाँ होते हैं यूएस में तो. He had gone there and he did kirtan and came back. तो स्थित प्रज्ञ पर्सन के लिए कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, because impressions doesn't get formed. But for this habitual person, how it changes the entire methodology, and even a non-habitual person, if he is in the state of sangha and he is not able to, and if he has tasted once, then that tasting once will always remember, unless forcefully it has to be rewired. Forcefully it has to be rewired. So, what stage all this thing can be avoided?
Initial stage.
Initial stage. What is that?
Contemplation.
Contemplation. Dhyāyato. At the stage of dhyāyato only, all these things has to be controlled. Krishna did not say dhrishyato viṣayān puṁsaḥ. कृष्णा ने दृश्यतो विषयान पुंसान नहीं बोला है. दृश्यतो में देखने से पुंसान ऐसा नहीं बोला है. दृश्यतो because we keep seeing when we go out, okay, here you will not find hoardings of alcohol and all those. But दृश्यतो कृष्णा did not say. दृश्यतो आप तो देखेंगे. ध्यायतो दृश्य देखने के बाद में जैसे बिल्ली पीछे हट जाती है, मेरे चीज की नहीं है, वैसे you have to make distance. That is the place. Otherwise, once you taste it, then these stages are automatic. Then आपको कुछ नहीं करना है. आपने देखा और contemplate किया. Contemplate करने के बाद में बाकी चीजें automatic है. Till the praṇaśyati. So the break मारने का point first ही है, ये समझना है. Otherwise, पीछे से भी आते हैं, बहुत टाइम लगता है. But at once, if you have to say no, if you do not want, because you are trying to control your senses, and when this thing has come in front of you, it is dhyāyato, where we have to put a break. Srila Prabhupada के एक disciple थे मायापुर में. I said, I think so, this example. वो बोले कि मैं 3 लाख जप करूंगा इनकी तरह, हरिदास ठाकुर की तरह. बोले मेरे लिए प्रभुपाद मायापुर में एक मैं सेपरेट कुटी बना के मैं वहां रहता हूं और मैं 3 लाख जप करूंगा. प्रभुपाद बोलते यू आर नॉट मैच्योर्ड इनफ टू डू 3 लाख जप. डू 16 राउंड्स इन फ्रंट ऑफ मी एंड इन एसोसिएशन ऑफ द डिवोटीज. बोले नहीं मैं करूंगा अकेला. खुद ही मायापुर, अर्लियर डे 70s, so difficult. खुद का तो हट बनाना was easy and they used to make, and he started chanting. 1 day, 2 day, people went there, okay, saw him, and after 3rd day he vanished. Why? He vanished. Because something had stuck him and he went away. And that is where Srila Prabhupada said, we will find mithyachari persons. Be aware. I know it is not possible for you, and that is where I was saying no to you. And again, you should not get attracted. वो अग्नि भड़क नहीं जाना, इसीलिए आपको संग में रहो बोला. तुम संग छोड़ के अकेले. That is why last time I said you all, आप जब अकेले होते हो तो क्या करना चाहते हो? Because ये सब इसी के ऊपर होते हैं. इसलिए हमने डिस्कस किया था. What you would like to do, what you would like to do. हमने इसीलिए पूछा था. तो श्रीला प्रभुपाद ने ये कहना है कि भाई मिथ्याचारी लोगों को हम अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते. इसीलिए हमको पता है उसके पास इतनी कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है, इसलिए संग में रहने की बात की. संग में रहने के बावजूद रहता तो एटलीस्ट उसके ऊपर कुछ चेक होता. अकेले झोपड़ी में बैठ के करूंगा बोला तो अकेले तो मन बड़ा चंचल होता है, उसका मन उसको कहाँ लेके गया. राइट, मायापुर धाम में. दिस इज इन 62 Prabhupada that said during one lecture on this topic only. If the lectures, if you see, he said that we cannot. He gives the example of stock, bagula. Bagula क्या करता है?
बगुला भगत.
हाँ, बगुला भगत क्या करता है? एक टांग पर. He just stands in the water on one leg. Why? As if he is meditating. He shows that as if he is meditating. But what is he doing? He is waiting for a fish to come. The moment fish comes, he just catches the fish and enjoys. So he gives the example of stock and says, we'll have bagala bhagats also, mithyacharis. So that is where the check will be only through association. तो इसलिए मैंने बोला था आप contemplate करना. आप जब अकेले हो तो आप क्या contemplate करते हो? Because these all things will add to the fall down. Very, very important. Krodhād bhavati sammohaḥ, sammohāt smṛti-vibhramaḥ. These were the 4 stages first. Up next 4 stages. smṛti-bhraṁśād, buddhi-nāśo, buddhi-nāśāt, praṇaśyati. So next 4 stages. From anger comes delusion. From anger, completes the delusion arises. And from delusion, bewilderment of memory happens. And when memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down into the material pool. Right? So continuing that shloka, krodhād bhavati sammohaḥ. From the krodha comes as sammohaḥ. Moha means what? Illusion. Moha is illusion. मोहित हो गया बोलते ना, illusion में पड़ गया, समझ में नहीं आ. और sammoha का मतलब होता है सम्यक रूपेण मोहा. पूरी तरह से illusion, completely illusion, we call delusion. When person is completely illusioned, we call delusion. So from krodha, sammoha comes. And sammoha, smṛti-vibhramaḥ. Sammoha में आने से smṛti-vibhramaḥ. Okay, smṛti-vibhramaḥ means loss of memory. Smriti is memory. smṛti-vibhramaḥ, भ्रमित हो जाती है, loss of memory. Bewilderment we call it as. One term word is bewilderment. So one becomes confused because memory is lost. smṛti-bhraṁśād, buddhi-nāśo. When the memory is lost, buddhi is also lost. Why? We'll understand. We'll understand. buddhi-nāśo and buddhi-nāśāt praṇaśyati. One falls back into the material pool, back to sensual indulgence from the restrainment. We all started off that, become vyavasayatmika buddhi, and then, how does that vyavasayatmika buddhi person walks, talks, and we are understanding all those. So we are talking about the person who is trying to restrain, and by indulging and by this 8 stages, he goes back again to sense indulgence. He falls down. So that's why it's called the 8 stages of fall down. It is applicable for any kind of activity. Any kind of activity. So we'll go line by line. Krodhād bhavati sammoha. So we see this krodhād bhavati sammoha happening in our life on day-to-day basis. How many of you have experienced? Anger में होते हो तब, when you are angry, you will speak what all things also which you don't have to speak. You speak things which are not required to be. Okay, somebody has recorded that, and then later on when he shows that recording to you, Baba, on that day you said this. He said, I said this. Oh, I didn't realize. I didn't mean that by saying this. What did you not mean that? So because he was already sammohit. सम्मोहन, किसी के वैसे बोलते हैं ना, सम्मोहित हो जाना, किसी के वश में हो जाना, कुछ भी बोलते हैं, बके जाते हैं.
Usually happens with families.
Yeah. Very common. That's why it's a day-to-day life. Sammoha. So, and
people have difference of opinion. Sometimes they call it reality. I don't know.
and that's why that's a Roman. That's what I was telling you. I was telling you that in Roman tradition there's a saying. You know what they say? When gods want to destroy, they make the person angry. A Roman saying it. When the gods want to destroy, they make the person angry, because when the person is in that angry mode, self-destruction starts. पहले डिस्ट्रक्शन बाहर दिखता है, कांच टूट गया, कप टूट गया, बर्तन टूट गए, ये टूट गए, बट बाद में खुद का ही डिस्ट्रक्शन हो. भाई ये समझ नहीं है, मैंने खुद कमा के वो पैसे से वो कांच का बर्तन लाया था, क्रोध में उठा के फेंक दिया. I had got that trophy in cricket. I got angry and I threw that trophy down. You will not do, I know. You put it very high. हाँ वही तो. किसी के हाथ ही नहीं आए, किसी और को भी गुस्सा ना आए.
Very clever. पहुंच ही नहीं पाएंगे.
So that's why that Roman tradition is, so anger makes a person deluded, lose our senses. Lose our senses means not that our senses get withdrawn, or it's withered off. That is, they lose the awareness of what they have to do. Lose the senses in the sense they lose the awareness of what they have to do. Not that, I lost my senses of touching and all that. No. So, an example of that alcohol person, he says, who is going to stop me? देखता हूं कौन मुझे रोकता है, आज तो मैं पी के रहूंगा, है ना. अब उससे ही उसका घर चलने वाला है, वो सब छोड़ देता है, कुछ भी नहीं सोचता है. मेरे आज खाना फैमिली का मिलना है. नो, he is already in that anger mode. Sammoha. If my wife stops me or if my family stops me, I will beat them. It is my right. I have earned it and I will enjoy it.
The best solution is come to solve it.
That was also starting from now. That's what I was telling when it was about to start. I said, this is the best country where at least that is not available freely. And now if they make it on basis on salary, then it will be available freely to everybody. That's a big problem. So this way, and that person who has to bring his bread to the family, he'll not be able to. You will see this happening in गरीब लोगों में कभी बार देखते हो, वो enjoyment लग जाता है, पति पत्नी के घर में राशन पानी नहीं रहता, लेकिन पीने के लिए बॉटल लेके आके पी लेता है. So we don't realize we are getting caught in the shackles of that invisible ropes. माया शुरू के भगवद गीता में जो दिखाया ना, in that tamogun, rajogun, satogun, jo ropes which the Maya is pulling, the invisible shackles, we get caught in that, and we don't realize that they are pulling us, and we are like a dummy who is getting pulled with that and actually getting entangled, not realizing that we are getting dragged into the act. That is what is delusion. Not realizing कि कोई हमको पकड़ के खींच रहा है, नहीं कोई दिखता नहीं है ना, इसलिए हमको लगता नहीं है, but we are being dragged into the delusion. Like machines, machines when they get excessively heated up, what that happens? They trip off, right? Like I was thinking that AC is not working, it is bad, but that was getting tripped off. I never knew. For 3-4 weeks we thought that person is not coming, and we never knew it is tripped off. This is some circuitry's problem there. It was night, he could not see. Then he said, I have to go also. He'll come later on. So, okay, I said, okay, you can come later on, check. So, similarly, our body is also like a machine. Doubt तो नहीं है ना? Machine है? नहीं है ना? 18.61 खोल के पढ़ो बोलता था, ठीक है? It's okay. So, yantra rudhani mayaya. Krishna says in 18.61 that our body is like a machine. So, when heated up with the contemplations, unfulfilled desires, kāmaḥ, krodha, it stops functioning. Functioning in the sense, okay, not natural functioning, but the functioning, due to this excessive thinking, it stops functioning. That is the sammoha stage, full heated up stage. Because anger se heated up, hai, so that comes delusion. So the neurons, continuously contemplation sparks and just, so much of heat that it just trips off. So that sammoha actually covers the knowledge of that person there. And that is where, in that drunk state, that person doesn't even feel that the person who is objecting to this is my wife, is my daughter, is my mother, is my father, or he just tried to, or my subordinate in my office. Why? Because the brain has stripped off due to excessive heat of not supplying the required item. In such stage, he does not realize and he speaks whatever in coming to his mouth. Whatever foul, whatever language, whatever filthy acts he wants to do, what not, he will do. Because smṛti-vibhramaḥ, sammoha. He has gone into sammoha stage. And the moment sammoha stage comes, sammohat smṛti-vibhramaḥ, the bewilderment of memory happens. The memory loss happens. So, the earlier was sammoha was illusion, and from illusion comes memory loss, vibhrama. So we call it as some word है उसके लिए. Memory loss के लिए. Okay, I'll tell if I remember. I'll tell. Sorry. There's one word also, like we are calling one word, no?
Mother. Mother.
नहीं इंग्लिश का वर्ड था. I was thinking bewilderment तो हो गया था. हाँ वो Okay, I'll tell on that. So, right now you will say memory loss happens. So, memory भूल जाता है. कि वो बाद में आती है. Exactly. You exactly remember. हाँ, short. So, how does this happen? Memory loss refers to, what does memory refers to? Memory refers to your past experiences and encounters. Okay.
Schizophrenia वगैरह कुछ बोला था क्या?
नहीं, तभी technical. Okay, I got that word, but then I didn't write on that day, so it's okay, no problem. If it comes through, I'll let you know. Dementia is scientific term. We'll come to, even dementia is fine. So now in the past now we have experiences of how certain things gave us satisfaction and did not give us satisfaction. These two things, by having this I had this satisfaction, by having this I was dissatisfied. Okay, by enjoying this particular object I was dissatisfied, by enjoying this particular object I was satisfied. Like you have that experience in your mind. So now, or if you have not experienced, then you try to do that experience and see. That's what you right, So now, example, I'll take a fire. So looking at the fire, once I burned my finger. I burnt it yesterday only. It's okay. So I burned my finger long back once. So I know. But still, something is getting heated up and I try to lift it without the cloth or without the tongue. Yeah. So, that is where we say delusion leads to memory loss. I forgot that it is getting heated up. I forgot. And I lifted up. Bhul gaya. Which is dangerous, right? Which is dangerous. Because you know you're playing with fire, but still you try to burn your hand. Forgetting, again you start indulging in fire. So this is okay, I'm talking about natural fire. Now imagine that sensual fire. We don't have to discuss openly, but the question is, now imagine that sensual fire, which you have more vivid examples, so which is that is more vivid example for those. So you hear so many family members, harassing their own children and all those, smṛti-vibhramaḥ, forgetting that they are all my kids. You see so many things happening in the world. I don't want to tell outside because family only, I said, because why? You know very well, they are my children. But some uncle, some relative, some, and he, unwantedly provokes the child. So, so we have some child abuses cases and all these happening. All these of smṛti-vibhramaḥ. Okay, one outsider is altogether a different thing. But when we say even in the homes, we are not new to this concept. So that also comes because of smṛti-vibhramaḥ, memory loss, due to excessive contemplation, heated up connection. Smriti also refers to instructions from the sadhu shastra, sadhu guru shastra. Smriti means what? Shruti, smriti, right? You remember Vedas chart, Shruti and smriti. Shruti, what is spoken by the Lord, smriti, which is written by the sages as a commentary about the Lords, right? So, Shruti and smriti. So, they forget about Guru Sadhu Shastra. Like Prabhu and Mataji has just now come after initiation, okay? So they have taken one oath there, right? In front of Vaishnavas, in front of the deities, in front of everybody they have to take oath that I will chant 16 rounds every day, 25 rounds on Ekadashi. That was new to us also. So at least we took that instruction for us also now. Okay, we do it, but the question was, it was being taken as a oath. That was for the new for us for the first time when we were looking at online to you. So they take a oath that I'll chant 16 rounds. I'll not indulge in 4 regulative principles. Okay, I'll help Srila Prabhupada mission. Okay, by helping Guru Maharaj in his activities. These are the 3 vows which generally they take. And smṛti-vibhramaḥ refers to forgetting those oaths which we take. smṛti-vibhramaḥ refers to forgetting of those oaths which we take. Forgetting to keep up those promises. कितने लोग होते हैं? हाँ, मैंने प्रॉमिस किया था बट मैं भूल गया और मैं पी लिया. प्रॉमिस देते हैं, मैं नहीं करूंगा आज से. बच्चों की कसम खाते हैं, माँ की कसम खा के कहते हैं, बाप की कसम खाते हैं, हाँ? बोलते हैं ना, मेरी कसम खाओ. कसम खा के कहते हैं. और फिर भी, है ना? smṛti-vibhramaḥ. So we have a particular memory kurg, we say. That's why. Kurg means, like, okay. Kurg is like a tradition, deep tradition. It's like, a deep tradition. It's like, when somebody engages in some sense gratification, then there is some little pleasure that is there. But before that, there is so much of, and before and after that, there is so much of agony. Before that, there is so much of agony or craving for that pleasure. Okay, we have indulged in some activity, there is a pleasure. But before that, there is a lot of agony. Okay, so there's for that sense gratification, there's a lot of agony. And after that pleasure, there could be agony of, again, letdown or guilt or frustration. These three things also can happen. So in between there is a pleasure. Before that there was agony or craving, and after that also there is three things. What is? Letdown, guilt or frustration. Letdown I say because we expected so much pleasure but we did not get. How many of you like? मैंने गुलाब जामुन देखा तो बहुत टेस्टी समझा लेकिन उसमें शक्कर ही नहीं थी. अब गुलाब जामुन खाने का क्या मतलब होता है आज वो अलग बात थी. दूसरा the guilt because we have done something wrong and the consciousness chastises us. For that pleasure we have done something wrong and the consciousness later on glani जो बोलते हैं ना, chastises us. And I was saying that frustration because we did not get what we wanted. First, what we got was less, but we did not get what we wanted. खाना गुलाब जामुन था, मिला छुड़वा. So now if we look back to the whole experiences of sense gratification, so any sense gratification, there is a little misery of craving in the beginning, but there is and also the little misery of disappointment at the end, and a little bit pleasure in the middle. But when there is smṛti-vibhramaḥ, we only remember the middle pleasure. We forget the initial craving and later on agony, in terms of guilt or in terms of frustration or whatever you want to. That we forget. smṛti-vibhramaḥ remembers only because याददाश्त तो है. याददाश्त क्या है? मुझे जो पाना है वही है. छोटी मेमोरी जो बोलते हैं ना, शॉर्ट साइटेड मेमोरी, वही है. मुझे खाली वो बीच का प्लेजर दिख रहा है.
बुद्धि भ्रष्ट हो गई.
हाँ, वो अभी बुद्धि भ्रष्ट आगे आएगी. इसके आगे आप इसके आगे बुद्धि भ्रष्ट होगी. तो smṛti-vibhramaḥ, so that delusion, so we are into that kind of thing. So only that, remembering only the tiny part of the pleasure and forgetting the huge part of agony where we get cravings and frustration, that is what is sammohaḥ smṛti-vibhramaḥ. So if you prefer, you should never fall into the smṛti-vibhramaḥ stage. Then what do you have to do? Because that's a dangerous stage. Okay, all other stages also, getting anger also is danger. But smṛti-vibhramaḥ, where कुछ करूँ क्या इसी का? आज रिक्वेस्ट पे मैंने खाली फैन पे रखा है. आज रिक्वेस्ट पे मैंने खाली फैन पे रखा है.
प्रभु से विंडो खोलोगे तो बाहर वेदर
विंडो में मट्टी उड़ रहा था, पता नहीं, इसीलिए. देख लो, खोलते हो तो खोल दो. अभी यार मिट्टी नहीं उड़ रहा है तो. मिट्टी आ रही है? हाँ, मिट्टी आ रही थी इसलिए मैं छोड़ दिया था.
अच्छा है.
हाँ, वेदर तो काफी अच्छा है. So what do you have to do? smṛti-vibhramaḥ, पद्म पुराण से smṛti-vibhramaḥ करने के लिए, क्योंकि हम तो क्या बोल सकते हैं, तो हम तो शास्त्रों का ही सहारा लेंगे. पद्म पुराण क्या बोलते हैं? स्मर्तव्यम सततम विष्णोर विस्मर्तम न जातुचित सर्वे विधि निषेधा एस्योर एतयोर एव किंकरः. This is one of the option given. Lord Vishnu should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibition mentioned in the Shastra should be the servants of these two principles. That is always to be remembered and never forgotten. These are the two principles. इसलिए Srila Prabhupada used to say, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. If you remember these two principles, all the rules and prohibitions of the servants, Kinkara are the servants of these two principles. That's why Srila Prabhupada बहुत strictly बोलते थे. So Lord Vishnu, means Krishna, you also, the Lord Vishnu you all know is, expansion of Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So अब यहाँ से तो शुरू हो गए प्याज लहसुन. नहीं, मुझे नहीं चलता. आप लोगों को गर्मी हो रहा होगा.
बंद.
嗯 पूरा घर पूरा. 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 एक और है विष्णु सहस्त्रनाम. विष्णु सहस्त्रनाम का प्रथम श्लोक, जो मीन्स नॉट प्रथम शुक्लांबरधरम. यस्य स्मरण मात्रेण जन्म संसार बंधनात् विमुच्यते नमस्तस्मै विष्णवे प्रभविष्णवे. है ना? By the mere remembrance of him, one is freed from the bondage of birth and transmigration. I bow to that Vishnu, the creator of that universe. So, remembrance itself, first remember, always remember Vishnu. So, this is the principle where that yasya smarana matrena. क्योंकि हम लोग विष्णु सहस्त्रनाम बचपन में यहीं से पढ़ते थे. Later on we came to know there is Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnu, from there it starts and all those we have. Then we started off in that way fashion. But when we used to get the book from Gita Press, initially it used to start from Yasha Smaran Matrena, because those 144 shlokas or 146 shlokas were the main shlokas of where Bhishma recited for Krishna. So this is one of the things. That's why the Shastras say that remember Krishna all the time in every deed. That is where Krishna said Matpara before only. So if you are not able to do Matpara, you are not able to connect, then certainly you are going to fall down. Means certainly in the sense, okay, to the extent whatever clicks you, you are going to fall. Means situations will come where you are fall down. Will certain. smṛti-bhraṁśād buddhi-nāśo. प्रभु ने बोल ही दिया था. smṛti-bhraṁśād buddhi-nāśo. स्मृति के नाश होने से बुद्धि की भी नाश होती है. स्मृति मैंने बोला था मेमोरी से कनेक्टेड होती है ना. मेमोरी के इंटेलेक्ट, स्मृति होती है मेमोरी. मेमोरी में वही पार्ट याद रख रहे हैं जो बीच का पोर्शन जहां पे प्लेजर देना था. किसी को एक्सप्लॉइट करना है तो भी वही ध्यान रख रहा है. एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स. Now you collect what all not things, all the downfall activities, all activities will fall through these 8 stages. A person, if he has fallen down, imagine now all these 8 stages he has gone through, and that is why he has fallen down. So, smṛti-bhraṁśād buddhi-nāśo. So, when memory is lost, intelligence is destroyed. So, their remembrance power is lost, right? When memory is lost, I said so. But when memory is lost, I can also go ahead and say we have lost the vows which we have given. Because smṛti-bhraṁśād, smriti also refers to Shastras. So we have forgotten the vows given to our Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And as such, the discriminatory power of the buddhi, what does buddhi do? The buddhi discriminates what is correct as per Shastras, what your Guru has said, what this has said, and whether you are doing this or not. It gives you an option, clear discrimination. That if you do this, this is right, and if you do this, this is wrong. So that discrimination power is also lost, because that buddhi memory is lost for a particular point of time, and only that particular portion is being remembered. And the intelligence is also, because he has forgotten the Guru's Sadhu Shastra Vakya. So intelligence, discrimination power is also lost. So when you have the power to remember what is good and what is bad, then only you will be able to discriminate, right? That memory itself is lost. So dissection of that memory of what is good and what is bad experience, that is lost. That follows. We don't have to do anything. बटन खाली ध्यायातो पे दबता है और उसके बाद में ये सब ऑटोमेटिक है. सीक्वेंस के बाद में होते जाते हैं, हमको पता ही नहीं चलता है. So buddhi is also compared like a sword, तलवार की तरह. Dissection why say buddhi is compared with the sword, and sword of knowledge. Going forward, 9th chapter, Krishna will say, Ashanga shastrena dridena chitva. By the sword of knowledge, cut down all your attachments. Ashanga shastrena dridena chitva. 9.2 or something. 9.6 or something. 9.3. 9.3. With determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of attachment. The rooted tree is rooted desires. Strongly rooted desires with a weapon of detachment. That is where buddhi is compared to that strong axe. When Krishna remembers Sudarshan, Sudarshan automatically appears in his hand, right? So Krishna is just to remember Sudarshan, and that Sudarshan automatically appears in his hand. Okay. Like that, our buddhi is also like that sharp sword given by Krishna to us to cut down all those attachments. Okay, we cannot remember Sudarshan because we haven't had that Vidya. Sudarshan will not come for us. Okay. So, but Krishna has given that buddhi, at least you should remember that. We should make best use of that buddhi. If somebody has doubt, Krishna has given buddhi. No, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Krishna going forward, he will say that also. I have given you this buddhi. 10.10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. So that buddhi, discriminative power, that is also lost. So buddhi-nāśāt praṇaśyati. Buddhi-nāśāt praṇaśyati. So once intelligence is lost, we fall back into the material pool. Praṇaśyanti. Pra means prakrushta rupena. Naśyanti means fall down, or nash actually. If you clearly only say naśyanti, matlab nash. One certainly falls. Now, you all know, नाश means अगर मेरा नाश हो जाएगा मतलब क्या, मैं जीवात्मा का नाश हो सकता है? We have already read that, like जीवात्मा का कभी नाश हो नहीं सकता, right? It here means, praṇaśyanti here means, you are back to that square one where you wanted to restrain yourself from all the sense gratifications. You are reading about a sthita-prajna person, the knowledge about a sthita-prajna person, how he behaves, what is his characteristics, how he sits, how he walks, how he restrains his senses. So all those things when we are doing, and when we say praṇaśyati means you go back to that square one, again into animal life, sense indulgence. Your buddhi and all those doesn't work. So in case of our last metaphor of that horse rider, so mind getting kidnapped, we took that, when the horses are pulling the reins, the mind, and the intelligence sitting driving the chariot, he is unable to control because the senses are become so wild. What happens? They go and fall in a ditch. praṇaśyati. जाके नीचे गिर जाते हैं, खाई में गिर जाते हैं ना. घोड़े में आपने देखते हो, हीरोइन को समय पे नहीं बचाया तो खाई में जाके घोड़ा गिरता है ना. तो praṇaśyati you can take in that way, but not नाश of your आत्मा. ओके, ये आत्मा का नाश कभी नहीं होता है. वही हमने 11 to 30, 2.11 to 30 में अच्छी तरह से हम समझ चुके हैं. Now, in our stage, where we are not regular, or say we do not have regular taste in bhakti. Okay, all of us are trying to do bhakti. We are trying to be matpara, trying to connect Krishna in every situation. All of us don't have regular taste in bhakti. We do not have regular taste in spirituality. Some may have, some may not have, some may have partial and some may not have partial. So, when in general here Krishna is speaking of yoga, means matpara, means he said matpara, yukta matpara, yoga, yukta and yoga are one and same. When he's speaking of yukta, of higher taste, in yoga of higher taste, which we do not have right now, and that's where we need intelligence by our side, which tells us which is good and what is to be done, which is good, what to do, what to desist from. When this is destroyed, but naturally one will fall down, right? So Krishna, that is where exactly, if you do not have that higher taste, and if you cannot, because what did Krishna say? Try to control your senses in connection with, take those objects as, see me in those objects. Whatever, you include me as the object of your senses. So whatever your senses want to do, connect it with me, and then, it means so whatever your senses want to do, first try to restrain. Okay, as we said that horse, we can do some kind of thing. So you will also have your techniques. Okay, there are some Shastras techniques. Tuesday you should not have non-veg, this you should not have non-veg. So there are so many techniques which are given in Shastras. So if you are able to do that, okay, you remember that, because that also comes from remembrance power. So if you're able to do that, okay, control, and you have dovetailed to Krishna, I have much better things to eat than to eat this particular rubbish thing. then automatically you will able to conquer your senses. Otherwise, if you keep on thinking, oh, this thing was very nice, I missed it, I want to have it, I want to have it, I want to have it, and then passion kicks in, because you can do only things in passion. Tamogun, they don't care only. Passion, kuch kar guzarne ka hai. So then you indulge. And once you indulge, dhyāyato happens, then you cannot do anything. The rest all will come automatically. Okay, some other stages also, some strong person has to be there. From there, he can pull up the other person. But then, the sequence is sometimes so fast that you cannot think about it. It's fraction of minutes also, fraction of hours also. Murders, what all, so things can happen. So in this way, Krishna is describing the sequence that if you are not able, when there is contemplation, attraction, obsession, irritation, delusion, going into oblivion, bolte hain na? Memory losses, that oblivion, going into oblivion. So oblivion, that is forgetfulness. Then the stoop, lower morale, stoop, lower morale in action. That is buddhi-nāśāt, we call it as. And then self-destruction. So when Krishna is describing this self-destruction, 8 stages, and these can be avoided by yukta asita matpara. Instead of contemplating on the sense object, we have to contemplate on Krishna, and that is where we can win over those senses. So, what is the learning for us out of these 2 shlokas? Of course, we have to read something which is Prabhupada has written. So, sometimes you'll say, why didn't I say about that then? So get out of this entire 8 stages of fall down is we have to be Krishna conscious. That's what Prabhupada has written, and why we have to be Krishna conscious we have been discussing. And then he has given, some negative examples which actually are not negative, I'll call it as. Like he has given an example of Shiva and Parvati, right? And the birth of Kartikeya. So now it is written as if now, then Prabhu will say me again. So it is written that, Shiva did not want to, but Parvati wanted. But why? Why did that situation come in? Why did that situation come in? Shiva was in meditation. You all know, right? Shiva, when he meditates, he will meditate full, right? When he is Yogishwara, है ना? Yogi का कैसे yogi meditate कर सकता है? He is an acharya for that. Okay? So, when Shiva is meditating, there is a demon called Tarakasura who disturbs the Devatas. So when Tarakasura is disturbing the Devatas, आप भी जानते हो, जब ये सारे असुर अटैक करते हैं तो फिर क्या क्या होता है? तो सारे देवतास भागते हैं शिव जी के पास. अब शिव जी तो ध्यान मगन में है, तो पार्वती रिसीव करती है उनको ब्रह्मा जी का वरदान मिलता है कि अन्य देवता से आप तो मारे नहीं जा सकते, बट अन्य देवता बोलते और महादेव को बोलना छोड़ देते. महादेव का कुछ बोलते नहीं है, अन्य देवी देवताओं से तुम मारे नहीं जाओगे, महादेव को छोड़ देते. महादेव के पुत्र, अन्य देवी देवता उनके पुत्र से नहीं मैं मारे जाऊंगा. तो यहाँ पे पुत्र की बात आती है, तो फिर महादेव का पुत्र चाहिए. महादेव तो ध्यान में बैठे हैं, पार्वती पे आके रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं. पार्वती माँ है, जगत की जननी है, तो एंटायर 40 प्लानिटरी सिस्टम्स की रखवाली करने वाली. वो दया करती है, बोले कि ठीक है हमारी संतान चाहिए, लेकिन मेरे पति देव तो मीन्स लाइक ठीक है. बाद में गणेश जी को क्रिएट करती है, दैट्स अ डिफरेंट इशू. बट देन इसे जब शिवा का संतान चाहिए तो शिवा तो ध्यान मगन में है. सो दैट इज वेयर वो जो अंग देश का जो है ना अपना स्टोरी, वो जो कि कामदेव को शिवा मेडिटेटिंग, एंड दैट इज वेयर कामदेव को भेजते कि तुम बाण चलाओ इनके ऊपर. और बाण चलाओ तो कामदेव जब बाण चलता है तो शिवा की ये खुलती है और इतना क्रोध आता है शिवा को कि वो कामदेव को डिस्टर्ब किया बोल के कामदेव को जला देते हैं, उसको उसके बिना कर देते हैं. परंतु फिर पार्वती रिक्वेस्ट करती है, भाई ये मीन्स आपने उनको जला दिया, अब वो मीन्स लाइक रति भी फिर वो करती है. उसके बाद में वो बोलते हैं कि आगे इसको शरीर मिलेगा, वो कृष्ण के पुत्र के रूप में मिलता है उसको शरीर. बट पार्वती समझाती है फिर, भाई मैंने तुमको डिस्टर्ब किया क्योंकि मैं चाहती हूँ एक पुत्र हो, ऐसे ऐसे प्रॉब्लम आया. से शिव जी खुद भी कुछ कर सकते थे, लेकिन जब बात पुत्र की थी देन शिवा एग्रीड. बट उसके लिए भी एक बड़ी कहानी है कि शिवास जो तीसरा नेत्र खुला, that for us we don't like for us we have only one particular thing, like okay, male and female has to meet and then we'll have sons. But for we have to think about this when you talk about that level of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, which are the gunavatas of the Supreme Lord, they don't have to, like Krishna doesn't eat by taking his hand, he just glances on the food and that is his eating. So Shiva, because he has opened his third netra, the fire comes out in such a gushing manner that, of course, after burning Kamadev, Agni, because this this union has to happen with the Agni, like so that Agni Dev is unable to handle Shiva's that fire. Agni can handle all kinds of fire, right? But Shiva's third eye fire is so strong that Agni is unable to handle. He just clips that into the water. And in water, it falls in 6 forms. 6, क्या बोलते हैं ना, अग्नि की बूंदों की तरह निकल के 6 अग्नि की बूंदें पानी में गिरती है. और उन 6 बूंदों से 6 पुत्रों की प्राप्ति होती है. इन डिफरेंट फॉर्म. ओके. फिर पार्वती, क्योंकि पार्वती ने चाहा था, तो पार्वती उन 6 को उठाती है, उनको क्लब करके उनको एक बनाती है, लेकिन वो एक विद 6 मुख हो जाते हैं, इसलिए षण्मुख उनका नाम है. षण्मुख. सो पार्वती clubs it into one and he is named as Kartikeya. He becomes their son and he gets 6 faces. That is why Shanmuga is named. One of the name is Shanmuga. So, and then there is a word of that particular Asura, Tarakasura and all those. So that is why Prabhupada has written. Sometimes, I realize when Prabhu is saying, oh, don't tell on the negative aspect. Oh, no, okay, fine. Because I would have said, why Parvati insisted and he got son. Means no, there is a reason for everything. So there is a reason for particular thing to happen. But then, that thing is right for right now, that, you should not lose yourself into that fire. That is vivid example now. Most of us end up in unwanted relationship because of this fire. And then he gave positive example of Haridas Thakur also, right? That, despite Laksha Hira, a prostitute coming and sitting in front of him, he did not get disturbed. Rather, he converted Laksha Hira into a devotee. So that's why he has described about that in the purport. Okay, sometimes, we should not get delusioned by the purport also sometimes. So the secret of success is, in terms of sense control, is that have the higher taste, which shuns, or which makes all the material enjoyments petty. Have the higher taste. And for that, what is suggested for ISKCON? Yukta Vairagya. Don't develop Vairagya. I will not do. Do Yukta Vairagya. Use everything, in the service of Lord, and then enjoy. Be it prasadam, okay. Enjoy whatever. Means like you can offer to Krishna whatever is as per Shastra. You can. And then take his prasada, okay, good eatables. That is Yukta Vairagya. So then there is no question of fall down. Why? Because jaisa khao anna vaisa pao manna. There is no question of fall down. Because the philosophy of Yukta Vairagya is, used. We did not do Vairagya. Okay, I wanted to eat the other day Pani Puri. I gave the example. I wanted to eat Pani Puri. I came home. We get dry Pani Puris nowadays. Just fry it, okay, offer it to Krishna, make pani at home and have as per your liking, less or more spicy. They are opposite here, less and more spicy.
Nirvande Krishna Sambandhe.
Nirvande Krishna Sambandhe. Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Anasaktasya viṣayān yatharham vipayanjate. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya. In dry renunciation, Prabhupada spoke about dry renunciation also. Falgu Vairagya. He spoke about Falgu Vairagya also. What happens? That may lead to fall down. Because telling no, 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 what will happen? You will develop okay for some time, but then after that, that taste doesn't go. Because that taste is not replaced with the higher taste. Once you had enjoyed this particular act, that taste always remains. Okay, you're physically telling no, but then that taste remains, and that will someday compel you, because contemplation will add to that, and that will compel you to play that role. And that is where Matpara was spoken. So, everything we have to stop at the dhyāyato. Krishna did not say drusyato. देखने के लिए मना नहीं किया कृष्णा ने, कॉन्टेम्पलेशन पे मना किया. Okay, मनन करना भी अच्छा है, but then you know how you have to connect it to Krishna there itself and finished off. Higher taste, spirituality, how it connected to spirituality and finished. That's why I was saying in the last time when I said Matpara, there is no such thing where you cannot offer to Krishna or which you cannot remember Krishna. I said, you know, anything you go, 10 chapter is enormous. If you all can read it, 10 chapter is just a translation will give you a lot many things. In this I am that, in this I am, you know, मैं पहाड़ों में ये हूँ, नदियों में ये हूँ, वसुओं में ये हूँ, नागों में वे हूँ, सर्पों में, I mean, like everything. So the moment you see that, oh, Krishna is that.
गाड़ियों में टोयोटा रैव4 हूँ.
अच्छा, वो भी है. कृष्णा ने तुम्हें गाड़ियां देते, वो भी इस बात कर लेते हो. चलो, अरे वो भी यूज कर सकते हो, टोयोटा या RAV4 या इवन लंबरगिनी भी यूज कर सकते हो. ऑफर इट इन कृष्णा सर्विस. मैं कृष्णा, आपने मुझे जन्म दिया है, आपने मेरे परिवार दिया है, मैं कमाने जा रहा हूँ, कमाने जाऊंगा, कमाई करके लाऊंगा, आपको ऑफर करूंगा, प्रसाद बनाऊंगा, आपको खिलाऊंगा, मैं खाऊंगा. सो ऑफर इट इन दैट. दैट इज युक्त वैराग्य. So we don't say don't use Lamborghinis, use whatever it is. Prabhupada, many of them stop. You are a sannyasi and you are going in Rolls Royce. Sannyasi only walks. He said, yeah, why should I not? My disciple has brought it for Krishna service. And I am also going for Krishna service. I am also going for preaching services. Yukta Vairagya. He did not say, no, I will not sit in the car, I will go by walk. So here to America, walking would not have been possible. Right? And that is how now, like, you know, many sannyasis used to not do that. Earlier, if you go to that Shankar Sampradaya and all those, you know, there's a rule, like if you cross the ocean, then you are not a Brahmin. That is also one of the Shastras, this thing. Okay. But you cannot take that literally, because without crossing oceans, you cannot spread the mercy also. 7 concentric oceans are there in that. We'll discuss on that chart when it comes. So, you know, and we have to cross all that. That is where Yukta Vairagya Ucha. Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anything else? मेरे को डाउट था ये हो जाएगा आज. किसी का कोई प्रश्न है?